What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Corbin Claypool Show. Excited to have two of my friends on right now. I got Bo with the Marines, and I got Paul Chopra with the Army and the Nightstalkers. So we're going to get into this. Super excited to have these guys on. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of good stories. And so let's get into it. Bo, just kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man. I know you were on the podcast already, but if you just want to do a quick little synopsis.
Yep, Bo Miracle again with Miracle Realty. We do property management in Madera, as well as real estate sales here in the Central Valley. Also served in the Marine Corps from 99 to 2004.
Nice.
After hearing some stories over here, obviously we're going to get into it, but good stuff to come, sure.
Awesome. Paul, jump on into it, man. Tell them a little bit about yourself. And
man, I'm nobody. This guy's a war hero. Look, my name is Paul Chopra. I work at Keller Williams Realty. I've been in the real estate business about 6.5 years, and prior to that, I was in the Army for 21 years, and then with Blackwater for 10 years after that.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you were a helicopter pilot.
Yep.
We were talking a little bit about it. How did you get into becoming a helicopter pilot? Like, what was the first? How did that even happen? Yeah.
So I was already flying in high school. So when I was a junior in high school, I was 16 years old. I was working on cars and taking mechanics, and something told me I needed to fly. So I went out and started taking lessons. And on my 18th birthday, I got my license. And so then I'm working out at the airfield as a mechanic, and some guy rolls out this little tiny, looked like a helicopter. All the blades were folded back, and he unfolds it, and I go out and talk to him at lunchtime, and he says, yeah, I'm going to go for a test flight for 15 minutes. You want to go? I said, man, I got 30 minutes. Yeah, let's go. It was the best 15, 20 minutes of my life. So flying an airplane was really cool. I used to take my wife and her family out to lunch all the time, in the Bay Area, and fly out there. Mm-hmm. But the difference was getting in a helicopter, you had to use both hands, both feet, and your head better stay ahead of where that aircraft is. And the difference was you could trim up an airplane and let it go, and it'll just go, right? You're at altitude, you're flying. Helicopter will roll over and crash you into the ground right below you.
Uh-huh.
So I just thought that was such a great challenge, and I just stayed into it.
That's awesome. So that's how you got into it. And then fast forward years down the road, you got into flying for the military.
Right.
And so how did that come about?
So I looked around, called everybody, all the chief pilots on the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and I said, look, if you had a chance to hire somebody with the same amount of hours, one was military, one was not, who would you hire? Every one of them said military guy, bar none. Wow. I said, wait, why? He said, because you're going to fly in the civilian world when you can afford it. Maybe once a month, because airplanes or helicopters at that time was $190 an hour. And
right,
it gets expensive, right? Mm-hmm. So you fly when you can fly, and the Army eats, breeds, and sleeps helicopters. Military does.
Right.
And so he said, no, we'll take those guys over you anytime. Shoot.
Nice. So that's how you got into it.
Yeah.
And then so during your time in the military, were you flying helicopters the whole time, or did you first start getting into the Army through basic? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so everybody goes through basic just like Bo did, right? So you go through basic training. It wasn't too hard. And then you go to flight school. So you go to flight school, and we had 63 students in flight school, and I think 13, 14 of us got airplanes or helicopters and actually made it to a unit.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a challenge the whole way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get in there, and then you're flying for special operations. Kind of go into that a little bit, man.
So I was flying in the Army and for 11 years, and I got to what I thought was the pinnacle of Army aviation, and told my commander one day, "Hey, I'm done. I'm leaving." What? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm bored. There's nothing. I'm an instructor pilot. I'm flying a lot, but I'm teaching, but I'm not learning anything.
Right.
And so he sent me off to a school. It was nothing. I went back to Fort Rucker, but I met some guys from my first unit in Germany who had all gone to special ops. And so funny thing is, they gave me a little slip of paper. They wouldn't even talk to me. They just handed me this little slip of paper with the phone number, no name, just a phone number and a time, 7 p.m. So, guys, what the heck? And so I'm back at the barracks, and I had my wife there, and so she finds the piece of paper as she's, getting ready to do laundry or something, and she said, "What's this?" I said, "Oh, I was supposed to call somebody at 7. What time is it?" 6:59. Oh, crap. Well, I don't know if this means anything, but let me dial. And sure enough, it picks up on the half ring, and it's my old commander from Germany, my first unit. And he said, "Where the hell have you been? I've been expecting." I said, "It's 7 o'clock. You're already late."
Right.
So,
What's that quote? If you're on time, you're early,
late.
and if you're
right,
or if you're earlier on time, if you're late on time,
you're late. Yeah. So anyway, he says, "I already sent you a packet. I knew you were down there. Fill it out. Go do your testing, and get over here and assess." I said, "Well, so I'm getting out of the Army." And he said, "No, you're not. Get over here." And so this was, I went and assessed for special ops. So it's like anything in the military. You make rank, you gotta challenge with everybody else in your rank, right? To make the next rank. And so it was an assessment. I went in 4th of July weekend of 93. And of course, Mogadishu happened October of 93. So they were already there. And he knew he was going to probably take some losses. And he was the commander of the Black Hawks in Mogadishu at the time. So that whole movie, Black Hawk Down.
So the Black Hawk Down happened in Mogadishu? Is that where it happened? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. Mogadishu. So, So I make it into special ops, and I flew with all those guys. So, man, please understand, I am nobody in special ops. These guys, I was flying with legends. These guys were amazing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it really was.
Coming back to, real estate, right? Just to kind of bring this up, I'm sure it's definitely a change of pace. It's a change of life. Do you ever miss flying helicopters and whatnot? And, I can imagine getting back into the civilian world would be tough.
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't tough. So let me tell you how that happened real quick. I know we're jumping years ahead, but Delta guy once said we were all together and a couple of them were fighting and people broke them up and the sergeant major who broke up the fight between these two Delta guys, and we were out forward in a classified top secret mission, and we're in tents and we're type A's, so we got to fight with somebody. If we don't have an enemy to fight, it's like we fight amongst ourselves. And so the sergeant major came over and broke these guys up, and he looked at the guy that instigated it, and I swear to you, he says, "You don't knock this shit off, I'm going to call your wife." And the guy just stopped, and they broke up, and I looked at the Delta guy next to me. I said, "What the hell is that?" He says, "Paul, don't you know?" He says, "We fear no man on this planet, but when that 100-pound woman talks," Yeah, you're right. yeah. You want to stop me from doing something? Tell me you're going to call my wife and tell her, "Oh, crap." Yeah, it'll stop in a heartbeat.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was cool.
So, on, let's say, the battlefield and whatnot, did the Marines and the Army come together ever? Did you guys see each other often in Afghanistan? Or
I would say so, yeah. I mean, I think that as much as we joke, and I mean, you'll hear it from the Navy and whatever, but I think that we collaborate most often. I mean, they have a special job, we have a special job. When you're in, special ops, that's a whole different field. I mean, that's like reconnaissance and basically of the elite. So, but with the Marine Corps and the Army, I said most definitely we're hand in hand.
Gotcha. Yeah, dude, that story that you told with the porta potty, man.
Yeah,
we gotta get some of those.
Well, and there's a ton of just little stuff. I mean, that was something that just came to mind, But again, the Army has numbers. Right. They're the biggest of the military.
Okay, I didn't know that. So the Marines.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
So Army has numbers, and the Marines are a smaller.
Yeah, we're smaller. They're supposed to be the small, the few, the proud, or whatever the case is. But they're supposed to be a little bit more, I guess. We're all trained with rifles, but I think even the Army at this point is as well. But when you start getting into like the Navy and stuff like that, I mean, not all of them are trained with a weapon and things of that nature.
The Navy's not. I didn't know that.
No, in the Air Force too. The same.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is kind of random, but our fighter jets and whatnot, they're Navy and Air Force? Because you hear of that, right?
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
the difference in the Air Force and the Navy, and what's the point of having
Missions.
Yeah, I mean, I think every unit or every branch rather has their own air wing, right? And we have a support. That's what I was attached to. I supported the air wing. So everything that he's talking about, ironically, we were the grunts for them, whether it was hauling explosives, fuel, things of that nature. And that was our specific duty, to supplement them for whether it was supply or fuel or ammunition.
Gotcha. You ever think, I wish I flew a fighter jet?
No.
The Black Hawk?
No. I knew the challenge that I had flying helicopters, and I was happy. Mm-hmm. So my wife has an uncle that flew helicopters back in Vietnam and different things, and look at those stories, right? I mean, you can pick any story anywhere and decide to go do it, and I hope you do. But for me, helicopters was a great challenge.
I'll hype him up just a little bit with the helicopter, because a lot of people don't realize the impact a helicopter has. Right. They can navigate to places that most F-16s or whatever the case is. You see it on Top Gun, cool. You know, they're up there, but the helicopters, if a Cobra came, they don't just come in one. You know, they come in a convoy, and you would hear them coming because, I mean, they're right above you. And so, I mean, when they come, you know that shit's going to go down, right? I mean, and they're highly equipped with ammunition as well. And those things, I mean, are very, very precise, and they have the precision that you would not think that the helicopter could have. But they just come and they do their job, and I mean, they leave nothing behind. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I that's just my experience. I didn't fly in those things, but, you know.
How many men are on one helicopter with you?
Depends.
Depends on the mission?
Depends on the aircraft, right? So we have gunships where there's just two guys. We have lift aircraft that have...
So a gunship would be a pilot and then a gunner on the side?
Nope, two pilots, and they shoot their own guns. They shoot miniguns, special ops, they shoot miniguns, rockets, whatever you need them to do.
That's crazy.
And then in a lift aircraft like a Black Hawk, Chinook, you know, we carry anywhere from 12 to 45 in each aircraft.
Okay, so you see like in the movies, right? The missiles come flying at the helicopters and they have to move out of the way. Are those aerial maneuvers that like legit happen? And
nobody maneuvers. It's too late. Yeah, those things are moving at Mach 2.5. Yeah.
So
I've had them come by me and hit dirt berms in front of me. It's like, oh gosh, you just thank God that you're still here. Okay, let's keep going.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's
the movies have a little bit of sprucing up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious if that was legit, you know.
No, I tell you, you know, speaking of that, in special ops, most of our missions were at night, and I think one of the best ways to give you a visual of going into a hot LZ, for example, you know, our job is already broken if people know we're on the way, if they hear us, if they see us, right? So when the LZ or a target lights up and starts firing at us, you've seen Star Wars and the Millennium Falcon go into hyperspace, right? And all the stars move. Those are tracers. There's 4 rounds in front of every light that you see, and they're coming at you. And so as an instructor pilot, I try to take guys in that I know are never, ever, ever going to quit. We got precious cargo in the back, these Delta guys, these SEAL Team 6 guys, and I can't even maneuver the aircraft because at 1 minute out, they're already unhooked, they're loaded, they're racked, ready to go. They're just waiting for me to hit the target, whether I'm hovering or hit the ground or whatever. But if I let some of those rounds hit me or stop me and move and maneuver and these guys fall out, I'll never fly them again, obviously. So, yeah.
So how long does it take? Let's say you're coming into a mission. How long does it take to get there or get on the spot, the target, and then unload these guys? How fast?
Man,
I'm just curious how fast these guys can get out of the aircraft, basically.
Depends. Are we letting them off one skid onto a rooftop? Are we putting them on a submarine in the middle of the ocean? Are we fast roping to tops of buildings or to a building where we can't land, or are we landing? So within a few seconds, they're gone. These guys are awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So they're just, if let's say you're not landing, they're just rappelling from the helicopter like that.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. And I mean, they can land anywhere. I mean, that's the difference between like an F-16. You have to have an airstrip.
Right.
A helicopter can touch down almost anywhere. If they need to refuel or whatever, get more ammunition or whatever the case is, they come down. It's a pretty easy process.
If you're coming at nighttime, is it pretty loud? Are these guys, do they know you're there by the time you're there, basically? Or
Well,
how does that
if you
work?
plan it right and you look at all the intel, then hopefully they don't know we're there until the first rounds we fire. So, if they're firing at us first, yeah, something's already gone wrong, and that's okay. We got contingencies for that. Just come to the target. Just go to the target. Do you know what my brief was in Blackwater? So I never know who I'm going to fly with that day or who the two shooters are going to be in the back. And we fly the same little MD-530F that the sheriff flies. So it's a little tiny aircraft.
No way.
No doors. I can reach back and hit the knee of the shooter behind me, right? And I can touch the shooter that's sitting behind the other pilot. Wow. And so as we're strapping on our gear and putting our weapons in the aircraft, I say, guys, all right, here we go. So we got 8 minutes. We're going to crank this sucker up. We've got 12-foot walls. These walls in the green zone are, all concrete, 12 feet high. Our aircraft, 8 feet high, 7.5 feet high. When we get to 12 feet, everybody in town is going to shoot at us. So here's what we're going to do. If I get hit, I'll tell you I get hit. If I need to go to the hospital, I'll tell you I'll go. You do the same for me. If you can't tell me you're hit, guy next to you, tell me you're hit. Dude, if I get hit, you got the controls. Go to the target. Do me one favor. If we go down, get parts of me back. My wife needs to bury parts of me. You got that? I'll do the same for you. Roger that. Let's go.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
That's
Get
heavy.
on. Let's go.
It's not bullshit, man.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think people, I've never been in the military, and many people haven't. I don't think they understand like how they just don't even get that life at all. They can't even comprehend what happens over there.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's no different than any other life. You know Austin, right? He's a big NFL football player, and we used to work together, and we used to talk about 0.5% of the U.S. population gets to play in the NFL. Man, what a peak of your of the sport that you play to make it there, right? And I feel like it's about the same going into special ops. Once you go into assess, I died 3 times assessing the very first day. I'll tell you that story sometime. But I literally died. You don't know that you died.
Now. We got time.
The doc tells you, right? So not too many people make it. And when you do make it, then you treat all of these guys with such respect that, holy crap, you made it here. You made it this far. And then when you make it, that first year, you're still on probation. So at any time you screw up on any training, on any mission, then they throw you the patch of the regular Army unit that's at the same airfield. So you're out. You're done. Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, every day is a challenge.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is a lot of people think that we play war. What we do is we train for every aspect of war. Right. So that's why we have, land, air, and sea. You know what I mean? And most of the time, depending on your job, unless, you're an admin, which is still a huge component of what our military needs. But, most of the time you're out in the field, you're training. I mean, these guys would constantly all day long in the Marine base that I was at, they'd fly all day long. Do operations all day long.
You're just
all day, all night.
That's your full-time job. You're just training.
So I'll tell you, a great way to explain that is, or differentiate that between regular Army and special ops was, I had to shoot twice a year to qualify, right? 40 rounds twice a year to qualify. And in special ops, in aviation, our promise to the president was anywhere in the world, anytime, plus or minus 30 seconds to the target, first round kill. Name the target. I don't care what it is. We're putting a hole in it within plus or minus 30 seconds of whenever you need it done. Wow. To do that, we can't just shoot twice a year. We shoot 56,000 rounds out of my aircraft every night for 3 nights a week. Day and night shooting, because it changes. Eyesight changes. Just targets change. And we shoot out of the aircraft, right? Moving all the time. Our gunship shoot 4 times a week. So I'm not kidding you when I tell you, when that tracer goes off, I just look at that first round. That first tracer, it better go into the hatch of the tank that we're shooting at, or into the window of that building that we're shooting at, or we're coming around, we're doing it again.
Speaking of shooting from the helicopter, what kind of weapons are on those helicopters?
We had miniguns. We had, 7.62, 3.9, 6-barrel, shoot 2,000 to 4,000 rounds a minute.
So how big is one bullet on one of those puppies?
Oh, it's just a regular rifle round, yeah.
Oh,
But,
wow.
but hold on, did you hear how many rounds he said per minute?
How many per minute?
That shit will light you up.
4,000 rounds a minute.
2
to 4,000 rounds a minute.
That'll
my
chop
God.
trees down.
It's six barrels, and we shot. Anyway, when you shoot people, all that's left is clothes floating in the air, and just a
Wow.
blood splatter in the sand.
Yeah, that's crazy. See, that's the part that I can't even comprehend.
Yeah,
You know, because I've never been in that
yeah.
spot. That is
And
nuts.
and getting back to the NFL type of thing, it's great to reach the pinnacle of your career, but there's a difference. Every time we go out, we're not sure we're coming back. Right? Where hopefully an NFL player, you're just getting on the bus to go to the hotel after the game. But not to downplay that at all. But I think for the military, at least in the last 20 years, that's what we've promised, right? First day in special, second day in special ops, we write letters to our wives and families, and the colonel puts it in his folder, so just in case.
Wow.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean the after, right? Like when he gets out of the airplane, or I got out of the truck, or whatever the case is, you're in a military setting, right? So you have a regiment to follow. You have to have processes to follow. I mean, and you still have to be a military member of whatever service that you're serving for. So you have to keep shaved. I mean, sometimes I guess there was some leniency in some aspects, but
Yeah,
I mean,
We had lots of leniency.
I was going to say, with special operations you see in the movies, right?
Not too much.
But-
Yeah, not too much.
that's in the movies.
Yeah, that's in the movies. Yeah, that's in the movies. With contracting, you get to do a little bit more, but everything brings a price, right? So if you're a contractor, you're going overseas, you've done something, those guys don't forget who you are. And I started in the military before computers, before cell phones. So, when they were taking pictures of us, somebody really wanted to get a picture of us, and then they hunt you down, and there was limited ways. Now you can find anybody anywhere in the world just about within no time.
Right.
So
With contracting, how does that work exactly? Do companies come after, like, say you're retired or done with the military, do they come after the fact and they're like, hey, we have a mission, or how does that work?
So when I left Special Ops in 01, I was read out. So you get read in on a top secret unit, and then you get read out. And when you get read out, I had 3 attorneys sitting there telling me what I could and couldn't say. They had my folder out.
Oh,
and
wow.
And actually, for me, or for my time, they changed it. And then they told me, hey, for the first time ever, we're going to tell you something different. I said, what? I said, give us 7 years and then tell everybody. Tell everybody there's 100 guys that go out every night, protect this country, and change the course of other countries, just like you've done. Look at all these missions. I said, but I can't talk about this stuff. No, give us 7 years, and then let them know. So that's why I can tell you just about everything I've done, and I don't mind doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's just very interesting. It's cool.
way different than what the Vietnamese guys, what the guys in Vietnam did, the Korean War guys did, anybody before us, even in Panama, Grenada, right? Panama, and then going to the desert. We never got to say that stuff when you did classified missions. But they said, yeah, give us 7 years and then tell them.
So with contracting, do companies hire contractors basically,
yeah.
or how do?
Were you ever a contractor? So when you leave Special Ops, the colonel pulls you aside and says, look, here's what's going to happen. And then these 3 attorneys said the same thing. If you did things right, then you may get a call. And if you get a call, then answer it. Because you got a skill set that not too many people have. So Can I tell you how I got a call? 2:30 in the morning. We're here in California somewhere, and 2:30 in the morning, I get a call, and this is exactly what the guy said. Paul, how would you like to fly 100 feet, 100 knots over Baghdad every night? What? I said, say again, because you never say repeat, right? Then rounds are going down range again. So, and then he did, said the same thing. I said, hell yes, I'm bored. And so he said, great, I'll call you in 2 weeks, we'll set it up. So I hang up, I put my head down. His wife's laying next to me, and I can feel her eyes are, ripping through my head. She sits up and says, what the hell did you just do? I'm going to Baghdad. With who? I don't know. Doing what? I don't know. Wait, you remember when we left, they said this could happen. But you don't even know who they are. And she was absolutely right. 2 weeks later, I get a call. It's in the book, Civilian Warriors. Eric Prince wrote it for Blackwater that 2004 or so, he started getting missions from people to go do things. And I was one of the guys that was called, and we started going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and 2 weeks later, to be honest, I have no idea who this guy was, but 2 weeks later he called me and kind of told me who he was, and he says, hey, brave young men are dying, I need your help. And I did ask one question when he called me the first time, like, yeah, I'm in, I said, wait, one question. He said, you only get one. What is it? Now imagine you're 2:30 in the morning, you've been out of the unit for a couple of years, and now somebody you don't know is calling you, asking you to do something. And I said, who will I be working with? And he giggled and he said, old friends. I said, I'm in. And it wound up to be a lot of old spec ops guys and shooters, and it was awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool, man. But what do you think about all that with that side of things with the Army and the helicopters?
I mean, everything that he's saying, just kind of hits home. That's why I'm just paying attention. I mean, for one, I have to thank him for his service, because
Absolutely.
The things that we go through is our own experiences individually, because you have different jobs, but in the reality, again, the Air Wing has a specific job, and we had a specific job, and it's crazy. I mean, when you talk to people about it, first when I came back, from Iraq, everybody said, oh, well, if I was there. Well, you weren't, so it's not relatable.
You can't possibly imagine how tough it was.
Yeah, what they seen on Jarhead or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some references.
Well, I remember last time, I think it was last time you were saying with the helicopter thing, you'd see these guys come in and just, like you mentioned, they would just.
Well, he said they turn into dust. Yeah,
basically.
I mean, the Cobras would come and they would light shit up. And I mean, like when they light shit up, I mean, again, when I was talking about precision, I'm driving with enough explosive to blow up a 100-yard crater, right? Because I have highly, highly explosive things. I'm not carrying freaking little rounds, you know what I mean? And so anyways, you would see them and they just come and they would light shit up, and you would almost feel bad for the enemy, but that's their bad, unfortunately. But that's just that's the teamwork also that we had, that when you're running in unison, I mean, the training and all the things that we had, the discipline, I mean, the sacrifice, I mean, all those things that really go into it. Again, to me, like when I'm hearing it, it just takes me back. And, those people that you serve with, or like he said, when he got an opportunity to go work back with those people, those are your buds, man. You know what I mean? And those are your brothers and your sisters, or whatever the case might be. And it's just a familyhood, and it's exciting to kind of hear this stuff, because it's not every day you talk about some good stories and being a veteran or being in the military,
And I know you mentioned too last time, when those guns would start firing off, that there would be people literally crying, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you never know. Again, like I was saying, when you reference back to people that said, "Oh, well, if I was there," well, even the people that were there, you never know how you're going to react. And like he was saying, hey, there's a thing that you really want to have, and that's the person that has to your right and to your left, that they're not going to break in the art of war. Right. Because it's not just you. You know, there's other people, you know, and when you see movies and there is some heroism that definitely is there, but there's some people that just, you know, they can withstand that stuff. And then there's others, the ones that you thought maybe in leadership or otherwise, they freeze. They don't know how to react, you know, and nobody really knows until you get that, you know, that kill or the rounds coming down range. I mean, it's like playing dodgeball sometimes, you know, like a lot of people don't realize, like, what do you do? Like, you got body armor on? It doesn't stop a RPG. You know what I mean? It's going to light you up. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's pretty crazy, to be honest.
What is that movie? It's called The Ridge or something like that. It's where it's dated back a little bit. There's a bunch of guys that climb up the mountain on that little
Heartbreak Ridge, Korea.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a great movie, man. And you see those guys that are crying and the guys come next, get your fucking shit together, you know? And I think that movie did, I mean, I don't know because I've never been in war, but I think that movie did a pretty good job of depicting what it would be like. Yeah. You know, it was pretty.
Well, there's been a lot of good war movies, and again, and I mean, even like when I watch them to this day, I mean, which is the one with the Navy SEAL Lieutenant Murphy?
Yep.
I mean, there's a
Lone
couple.
Survivor.
Yeah, I mean that movie is same thing. I mean, when you see the thing that he did to sacrifice himself for his team, and I mean that shit's real. You know, and the depth of how far that goes, and you know the brotherhood again. I mean, that's if you have a family member that just does that for you, you know, you have nothing else but to keep on going forward and do the things that you need to do for the mission.
Right.
And can I tell you that standing next to somebody until that happens, you never know who's going to cower, who's going to become that hero. You never know. Talking to some of these guys, Tonto from Benghazi, and some of these guys, you know, they were just out there doing their job. The difference, not the difference. So the people that know me know I kind of say what I feel, what I mean, right? But that all comes from special ops. So when I was assessing, I'm sitting in front of the board after I've died 3 times. It wasn't enough, because I'm still sitting in front of the board, and they're asking me, hey, you know, your last instructor pilot, the guy above me said, you're this kind of person, and it was not good. Mm-hmm. You're selfish, you're impertinent, you're this and that, and he said, the colonel's asking me, like, is this you? And man, there's no lying. I said, yes, sir. I think so. He said, good. That's what we need.
Dang.
We know that guy. We know if he thinks you're that way, because he's the biggest, you know, and this is his words, the colonel's words, he's the biggest slacker we know. So if he thinks you're that way, you're the kind of guy we need. I'm like, oh gosh, you know, this.
No pressure.
Yeah,
no
they're sweating. Yeah.
Did you ever see on the special operations side guys that get into that fear, you know, flight versus fight, and they start flying? I don't think you'd see that on this operations side as much as you'd see it like.
You know, the tier 1 assets go through a year, 11 months of assessing. Man, all that stuff is hopefully weeded out, right? We don't go through nearly as that much, but the guys that don't make it, the guys that fail one time, they're not there anymore. Remember, we promised the president of this country
1 shot, 1 kill.
First round kill, right? Plus or minus 30 seconds, first round kill. And we train to that standard, and it is a standard. And for me to be the battalion instructor pilot, chief instructor pilot, I got to hold everybody else to that standard. And it was just really, really cool, because everybody did it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. How did you get into real estate then? From I know it's super random.
You want to change?
Yeah,
I needed stress in my life.
Yeah. You already had stress, man.
More stress in real estate than there is in the military.
There's more stress here. I swear to you, I said this like 2 years ago. I was talking to Ryan Johnson and Jared Martin, and Jared was in his office, but I was talking to Ryan, and I had an issue with you know, a transaction, and I said, dang it, Ryan, it's easier to go overseas and kill bad guys than it is to sell real estate in Fresno. And he started laughing, and Jared came out and he said, I'm going to write that down. I need to use that. So
That's funny.
But it's whatever you get used to, right? Mm-hmm. And I was in the process of learning real estate. So, for somebody like you that's done real estate for this long, you're more of a relationship guy than I ever was. I honestly, my adult life, I have been around type A personalities, guys for the most part,
right?
And just living that life for 17 years. So when I was flying with Blackwater, we protected the ambassador there. Guess what? Everybody there wanted to shoot him. And so we're flying him day in and night, and it just explosions everywhere, rounds everywhere. We got undercover guys driving around. All the 3-letter identifiers are down there, driving around in unmarked vehicles, and they're all got our call sign, and they're all calling us on our radio saying, State 31, State 31, man, you're taking heavy fire. And all I'm trying to do is, oh shit, let's go. I'm going to the target and trying not to stay straight and level. And the only reason I got hired on in special ops, for example, nobody leaves. They love it. And so there's only so many slotted positions. We lost 3 pilots in Mogadishu with Black Hawk Down, and I got called like a month later. Hey, you're up. So it's like, oh crap, okay. And then when I went to Blackwater, it was the same way. They had just shot down January 23rd in 07. They shot down one of our little birds. And how did they shoot a guy between the eyes doing 90 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, 90 knots in a helicopter during the day? Was they got some Chechen snipers there that was some of the best in the world, and they would ambush us into a pocket, and they were that good. So 4 guys got killed, 2 pilots, when I got called up and had that call. And really, when I talked to the guy that called me, he was head of Blackwater Aviation at the time, and I'm the first day in Blackwater, and he comes in and he has me in a room, by myself, and him and the XO walk in civilian clothes. They're in suits, and look, my first day in Blackwater, I've already seen some stuff going on, that I thought this is like cool as heck. And all of a sudden these guys are walking in. I don't know who they are. I must have pumped up a little bit, and they're like, Paul, stand down, like, what do you guys, sit down. I said, okay, I sat down. And then he says, do you recognize my voice? I said, you're the one that made the phone call. He says, yeah. He says, so let me tell you, it was 2:30 in the morning Pacific time. I said, yeah. He said, well, it was 1:30 in Baghdad time in the afternoon, and I was calling you because I had 2 pilots underneath a desk in my office peeing their pants because they'd flown the night before in Baghdad. They'd never been shot so much in their lives, and they wanted to go home. So somebody said your name and said, get that guy here. I said, awesome. Well, I'm not sure that's a good thing.
I think that's an honor.
But okay.
Yeah, that's an honor, man. That gives me chills.
Like, what the heck?
Crazy.
That's badass.
So, again, guys, I'm not here to take any accolades. I'm just telling you, I was amongst some heroes that you guys have seen movies about, Lone Survivor and Black Hawk Down, the Benghazi guys. Because I sold armor here in town, I have a story on Black Hawk or on Lone Survivor when that Chinook went down at the end of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So the 2 guys that actually went to the aircraft and told the Pentagon that all 23 guys were dead were 2 guys that were at 11,000 feet in the mountains with two guides and 2 donkeys, and they called me 2 months later on a sat phone here in Fresno while I was selling armor, and they said, Paul, you sitting down? We got to tell you a story. I said, okay, I'm sitting down. And I could hear that he was on a sat, because you get to learn that. And so when he stops talking, you got to give it another second before you talk, because
there's a delay.
Yeah, there's a delay there. So I said, tell me. And so he said, dude, we were a couple of months ago. You remember that? And I said, yeah. He said, well, we were 11,000 feet in the mountains of Afghanistan, middle of the night, and we get a SATCOM that aircraft went down. Go check it out. You're the closest assets. And so they ran for 18 hours up and down those mountains to get to that crash site. They got to the peak where all the bad guys were, They were all high. They snuck through the lines, got down into the valley, into the aircraft, and he said, I'm the guy that called the Pentagon and said, don't rush. Because our Chinooks had been trying to get in there, get that Chinook out of there, or get the survivors out and help them in any way they could, and they couldn't do it. And so he said, I'm the one that made the call and said, don't send anybody. They're all gone. Wow. I said, holy shit. But we would not have done it without dragon skin armor. We would not have done it with, when we got the call, we looked at each other and we said, okay, what do we do? And the guy pointed at his vest, felt his vest, and he said, we got dragon skin, man. If we got a chance to survive, this will help us. So let's go. He said, we took our long guns, all the ammo and water we could carry, and we took off. Ran for 18 hours to get there. Now, 11,000 feet in the mountains of Afghanistan.
No bullshit.
In June.
It's got to be hotter than hell.
Dude, I'm telling you, these guys are Olympic caliber athletes, and they're OR surgeons, because I've seen guys with needles in their chest, 3 needles in their chest, arms and legs ripped off, and these guys are still working to get them to live. And they're amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You can't do your job well enough when you see people working that hard, that well.
Under pressure, too, though. I mean, you talk about being in an OR room.
And there's gunfire coming at them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just like it almost like you can see it like when the movies, they slow down. I mean, they're hyper focused.
Yes.
You know?
And everything does move a little slower. Yeah. It's like, oh, shit. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Your adrenaline's pumping like crazy.
Yeah. Let's go.
Never had an adrenaline dump like that. Sure.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So that was the part of Lone Survivor, you know, and then.
But I'm still curious about this real estate thing.
Oh,
I know. How did
from that to real estate?
We you know, we came back and we're here in Fresno and we're like, okay.
You're like, what do I do?
Well, because you did the body armor thing.
I did. I was doing body armor, and then I went to Baghdad. Supported the ambassador in Baghdad for a year. I helped kill 3 of the Chechen snipers, my crew, in Baghdad, so they had to rush us out of there. Sent me to Jordan for a year. I helped King Abdullah II build a special ops unit with our Blackhawks, with our little birds. So
you taught that you instructed them?
I was teaching them. And then great year. And then after that, then I got a call to go to Afghanistan. Nobody knew what Afghanistan was, what was going on there. So we went and did that. And then, so you asked, how does that happen? So you understand about the phone call that I got.
Right.
So the second phone call goes something like, okay, you're going to show up here in North Carolina. So the first day you're gonna do secure a high value target in a vehicle. And do all that, right? So escort them, and then we're gonna do PT. We're gonna go fly. We're gonna do all these things, and like the first morning, 5:30 in the morning, they come get us in North Carolina. It's cold, wet, rainy, winds blowing. 7 of us get in a truck. We go out somewhere in a bumpy road. It's pouring down rain. They stop the truck. Get out over here. We can't even see where over here is. To the side of the road, there's 5 blankets laid out, and with 3 weapons on each: handgun, shotgun, and a long rifle. And they said, line up, take the handgun apart, put it back together, shoot 40 rounds. And if it's anything other than in the center, you're not making it. So after the 7 of us shot, 2 of them got put back in the truck. They got driven back. And so now we're moving on to the next thing. That's it. You're done. Move. Wow. And then they came and got me and said, "What? You're the pilot? Get the hell out of here. Go do this." And so I was landing on rooftops and bleachers, one skid, doing this and that, trying to show that yes, I can actually fly. And they knew me, you know, from special ops. Most of these guys were from there, and so. Yeah, 3 days later, I'm signed off, and so they send you home, and they tell you, hey, we're going to give you $3,800 to bury you, to your family, to bury you, and we're going to give you $1 million life insurance policy. That's it. You ready? Sign here. and you have no idea what mission's going to come up next. So for the next 10 years, 29 times I went to Iraq, Afghanistan, North Africa, and yeah, took care of business.
Then he got the call from Jared Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. Who got you into real estate, Paul? Was it?
I think we just loved looking at homes, man. We were going to invest in a home, and we got to meet some real estate agents, and I said, man, I'd love to do this. This is fun. Yeah. So that was 6.5 years ago.
Well, and I think we did a deal in Madera
so, yeah.
one time. It was a 203K loan. I think
that's
you
right.
Did. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
But it literally was. I took the test while I was going overseas in Africa, and then and the bad part of it was, and it wasn't planned, right? My last mission, I left 12 guys dead at the base of my aircraft as I took off, and it was a huge fight. And let me tell you that the things that changed for me, I don't know about everybody, but from the regular Army, like Bo said, we're a huge Army, right? But only certain numbers get sent out for missions, but there's a lot of them. And for special ops, again, there's less than 100 of us that go, and sometimes we're outnumbered 3, 4, 10 times, and so this was no different. We went out on the daytime mission where there was 1,300 bad guys coming through little villages in Africa, and we got a call. We took our U.S. special ops guys and dropped them off, and I mean, we briefed, right? So here's the other thing is you get briefed these things, these missions, and at the end of it, the colonel says, all right, let's go, and nobody moves. Because there's 1,300 to 46. And I was the only special ops guy, right? So I was leading these missions, and I got faith in my God, and I got up, walked to the door, and by the time I got there later on after the mission, I hear that, Paul, if you hadn't walked out, I'm not sure who would have gone. But you got halfway to that door, and everybody got up. I said, whew.
Wow. Funniest story in the military.
Oh no. You first.
No.
So I can't tell the camel spider one again.
No, that was good.
I have another one. So unlike Paul, I was on the ground. So we were attached to basically the special forces guys. We weren't supposed to be. We were supposed to be the ones in the rear with the gear. That's just how it normally works. But somehow we got pushed forward a little bit. So anyways, we were going from Kuwait. They finally gave the warning order. They kicked off the war. So we were like the third unit to cross over the border. And I believe it was the British that was there, like their special forces guys. But anyways, they had a sign. They let us in.
Does the British have a good military?
Oh, their SAS.
Yeah, they're special forces.
Legit.
Yeah, I would definitely give them some props and respect for sure. And then there's a couple countries that I would definitely throw some shout-outs there. But anyhow, they were allies. And so we went across, but we were on standby in Kuwait for a couple months. Now, back what Paul was saying in the 90s, right, when it kind of first started, they never really, it was vice versa, right? So now we're crossing the border where basically Saddam Hussein had hung some soldiers and all this stuff back in the day. But anyways, we kind of crossed the border. Where our mission was to get to, I think it was Fallujah, and we were moving really fast. It was disorganized, and like he was saying with the sat phones and all that stuff, we kind of lost contact. So we were just moving. And like we didn't really know where we were moving, and the target kind of changed a lot of the times. But anyhow, we were up for about 18, maybe 20 hours. And so, it's good to be on adrenaline and stuff like that. That'll keep you up for a while. But mind you, there's no caffeine. There's no nothing. You haven't fucking ate. There's no food. You can't stop. The water, it's 130 degrees. So your water's like 160 degrees. You could cook top ramen, right? You got your full body shit on. You're driving. It gets hot. You're driving 35 miles an hour, mind you. Now you're in the dark. And I'm like a bobblehead, you know. It was like you're driving around and shit, and then all of a sudden, like you wake up and you're like, "Where the fuck am I? I'm the driver," you know. And so, anyways, you're driving, and finally, like they said, "Okay, we're gonna park over." But mind you, like just like the air support, when they go, we're going deep. So we got fuel tankers, you know, hauling jet fuel and things of that nature, and then you got your supply, you got your ammunition, blah blah blah. So, anyways. There's like 250 vehicles, so it's like no secret that we're gonna come, right? Where it's like a mile length. So, anyways, we pull over on the side of the road. We're gonna get some shut eye. We go, and at that time, everybody was worried about the gas chemical warfare or whatever the case is, because that was the biggest thing. But mind you, things change. I have my own perspective of certain things, and you know they hadn't lit the oil wells on fire yet, but then that did happen. And that was a whole nother thing. That was just a gimmick. But anyways, so we park over, and everybody's like, okay, cool. We're gonna post up. We're gonna be here for a couple hours. We're gonna get back on the convoy, and we're gonna take off. Cool. Well, the alarm sounded for like chemical warfare. I'm fucking like, I could barely move. I'm so depleted. I'm tired. Been sweating my ass off. So we have to put on our mask. You have to put on your mop level gear, which is another layer of freaking clothing, and it's freaking insulated, so it's hot as shit. They go down and clear my mask, and now we're just sitting there, Indian style, right? And it's like freaking 3 a.m. in the desert, middle of nowhere, and I swear I was like, okay. My buddy's like, put back to back. We'll go back to back so we can kind of watch each other six or whatever. And so we're like back to back, and then all of a sudden I wake up. Right? But my head's in the ground. My mask is all the way to the side of my face. And I look around, and all my buddies, and like a lot of them, except for a couple of the chief warrant officers, a couple of officers, gunnery sergeants, they're kind of roaming around, but they're kind of delirious too. You know, they're trying to be savages. But anyway, I woke up, but dude, if that shit would have really happened, dude, I would have been so smoked. You know what I mean? But I woke up drool on the side of my face, my mask, my canisters on the side over here. I was like, what? I try to scurry to kind of get it into the front, and I was just like, oh my god. But we all kind of woke up laughing now, because my buddy's mask was over here on the top of his head. It was
you guys
wild.
would all been
we would have been roasted for sure.
That's funny.
Yeah. But that was a non-camel spider story.
There you go.
Your camel spider story is the best.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
that is cool.
Paul, you got any funny stories?
So I got one from basic training, so don't hit me. But we go to basic training, and we wear rank based on our experience, right? So I have some college, so I'm a private first class. And there was two of us, but then there was a specialist 4 who outranked us, who had been in the Army before, been a sergeant. And so he had a couple of years off, and he came in. Well, the great thing about basic training is you get fired like hourly. And so as the leader, and so within 3 days, so we started, I think, on a Sunday. On Wednesday, he was fired for something some goofball did, you know. It had nothing to do with him, but he gets blamed, so he gets fired. And then the other PFC takes over, and then he didn't last but a few hours. And so here we are on Thursday. I think Thursday night, he gets fired. So I get to take over on Thursday night, and then we're going out doing our shooting and our running and, you know, all that stuff. So Friday night, we're back. Now, this is basic training. I got 36 guys in my little platoon, little 4 squads, and we're released for the night. And the Black Hats, the drill instructors, come in like every few hours, or they'll be in at 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure everybody's up, you know, shaved and all that, and boots are polished. And so my Black Hat comes to me and he says, "Hey, come here." "Yes, sir." And we're the only ones left out there. And he says, "Hey, I got things to do. I'm not going to be back till Sunday at 6 p.m. "What? What do I do?" "Dude, this is my first week in the Army." I'm like, what? So he says, "Look, make sure everybody's got everything done. Get your shit together, you know, have them ready by 6 o'clock Sunday." And then he leaves. So I go upstairs. We're on the 3rd floor. So there's a platoon in every floor. I go up to the 3rd floor, and everybody's waiting for me, you know, and I'm like, shit, what do I do? So I take a shower, I come out, and I mean, everybody, all 32 guys are standing there, and I got a towel wrapped around me. I got my shaving kit. I go in, and the platoon leader is the only platoon guide is the only guy that has his own room. So I go in there, and my boots are. I couldn't polish boots for crap. So my 2 boots are polished, and I thought, uh-oh, something's going on, right? So I come back out. I'm in my towel. What the heck is going on? All 32 guys are looking at me, and they said, so what are we doing? What do you mean, what are we doing? We're in basic training. So, make a long story short, they want to go. They want to go out. We're in basic training. You can't go out. So, it takes them about 20 minutes to convince me that everything will work out. Just let us go. I let everybody go. Be back by Sunday at 5 o'clock. Don't you screw up. Everybody. Don't get in trouble. Be back. First basic training class probably ever. 32 guys take off. They're gone. They're off post. They're partying. They're with family. I don't know what they're doing. 5 o'clock Sunday, everybody's back. I couldn't believe it. So we're back, and I'm sweating. You know, the next morning, gosh, I hope the black hat doesn't show up because it's just me. There's nobody. How do I answer to this? And it happens, you know, Saturday night, Sunday morning, no black. And I'm hearing downstairs, everybody's getting yelled at. You know, their racks are getting thrown around. You know, their black hats in there making crap for them. And ours is quiet. Like, I don't even want to open the door. It's just quiet. So Sunday, I go in and take a shower around 4 o'clock. I come out. All 32 guys are back. So I take a head count like 3 times. Are you sure everybody, squad leaders, everybody back? Yeah, everybody's back. Really? And then at 6 o'clock, our black hat comes up, you know, and our beds are made. I mean, everything's perfect. He's like, dude, you should be an NCO, not that damn warrant officer crap you're going to go to, you know? And he turns around and walks off. I'll see you in the morning. So he shows up 5 in the morning. We're doing PT and everything's good.
That's crazy.
But it was nuts. And then years later, gosh, it must have been 4 or 5 years later. I'm a warrant officer. I'm going through a dining facility at some base, and we're training somewhere. And some young kid stands up and he says, "That's the guy." And I'm with all my friends, right? All my warrant officer friends. And this young enlisted guy stands up and says, "That's the guy. Basic training. That story I told you guys, that's him." I said, "Dude, how the hell are you?" We hug. And all his friends are like open mouthed, you know, their eyes are wide, like, you can't tell me that story's real. Yes, it was real. I let them all go.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Guys, thank you for coming on this pod. It was a lot of fun. And
sure.
If anyone wants to leave any last stories or notes for the audience, go for it.
I got one. Since he did a boot camp one, I'll do one.
All right.
So in boot camp, my cousin and I, we went to boot camp together, but we were supposed to go per our recruiter together. Mm-hmm. But it was just dumb luck that we went together because we were going to go separate. But anyways, so we end up in the same platoon. We're in the same unit or whatever. And so we're going through the process. They never know that we're related because my cousin's like 6'3", 6'2", similar to your size. So like just it didn't make sense.
Right.
Miracle, Hoffman, whatever. So we were able to be under the radar. Something happened. He got like cellulitis in his knee, like probably like 9 weeks into training. And in the Marine Corps boot camp, it's probably one of the longer ones for the actual just basic training. And it's like 13 weeks. So his knee swelled up, flared up, something like just gnarly that I've never seen. So he had to go to the hospital. So he went to the hospital on at the base, and so he said, "Hey, can you have my cousin unlock my locker and get into my locker for me?" And so the drill instructors got wind of this. Okay. So they came back and they're like, "Hey, you know, recruit Miracle, you know, the senior drill instructor wants to see you." And I was like, "Oh, this isn't good. This is not good at all." So I go and I report, and he's there, and a couple of the drill instructors are in there as well. And they're like, "Go ahead and have a seat." And I was like, "Oh, okay, you know." But I was like, "You know, this recruit doesn't feel very comfortable, sir." And they basically told me to shut the fuck up and sit down. So, all right. So I was like, "No, don't sit down there. Sit down in senior drill instructor's seat." And I was like, "Oh, this is really not good. I don't know what the fuck's going on." So I kind of refused it. I was like, you know, because that's like that you don't touch their campaign cover. It's just a thing, right? So anyways, they're like, sit the fuck down. So I sit down. They're like, hey, take senior drill instructor's hat. Go ahead and put it on. And I'm like, oh no, I'm like trembling. I'm like, oh, they're gonna fucking wear me out right now. I just know it. So anyways, they forced me a little bit. They're like, okay, they're being like super animated too, right? So they're like putting on all this stuff, and they're like, hey, put your feet up. Go ahead, put senior's belt on. And I was like, oh God, like this is not good, And so anyways, they're like, do you have something to tell us? They're like, what kind of loyalty do you have to the platoon, basically, or whatever the case is? And I was like, well, this recruit, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, okay. They're like, you don't have anything to tell us? They're like, you wouldn't hide anything, would you? And I was like, no.
Man.
And I was like, yeah. Then all of a sudden, all four of them just start lighting me the fuck up. The one hits the hat off of me. This one, he was an African-American guy. He was a professional boxer in the Marine Corps. Grabs me by the throat, like starts choke slamming me up against the chair. And they're like all barking orders at me. And I'm just like basically trembling and like going into convulsions. They take me out onto the deck and they just start making me do burpees, push-ups, to the point where I couldn't even move. They were pulling my belt. They were wearing me out so bad I couldn't even physically move anymore. My body was just flopping because it was for like 2 hours. They were just wearing me out, and they're like, "How would Recruit Hoffman like to see you now?" Just dying, flopping like a freaking dead fish out there. So, anyways, that was my experience at boot camp.
When you talk about some of that, it still gets you scared.
Oh yeah,
it's like senior drill instructor.
Because they'll light you up.
That is funny.
So that's my ender.
So we have time I'll tell you how I died. So I trained like heck because I knew I was going to go assessed. And so I think I had like a month or two's notice, and I worked out hard, ran, and then we go to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where the Special Ops Unit is, and we assess. So we got like 23 people that were assessing, and probably 7 or 8 black hats there. You don't know who these guys are. They don't wear rank. They have uniforms on, but there's no rank, no names, no nothing, and they're just yelling at you the whole time. And so one of them was a psychologist. He was something else too, a psychologist, who was our regimental physician. And he's there at every assessment. So they announce him. They tell you who the doc is. Well, so we do the Army PT test, which is the push-ups, as many as you can do in 2 minutes, as many sit-ups as you can do in 2 minutes, then run a 2-mile run. I had gotten some G2, some intel that sometimes the run doesn't stop at 2 miles. Just frickin' run until you can't run anymore, right? That's the deal. So we do for, at the time, an 18-year-old, which was the highest level that you could get. 81 push-ups was the max. 81 sit-ups was the max, and then some ridiculous
in a row.
Oh yeah, yeah. And not all of them count, by the way, because the black hats love to say you didn't go down far enough, and so they say 7, 7, 7, 7. If like they'll put their fist underneath your chest to come down and do a push-up, and if you're not hitting their hand, it doesn't count.
Wow.
And so they did that with me too, obviously. So anyway, so I did as many as I could, ran as fast as I could, got lapped on a 440 track in 2 miles, got lapped 3 times by this captain. Hated this guy. This son of a gun he was fast. Well, he was wearing a Hawaii Ironman T-shirt, right? And as he's walking, I'm dying, and he's barely breathing hard. And he walks by, and I said, "You son of a gun! I think you passed me twice." He said 3 times, and then kept walking. I said, "You son of a bitch!" And then a year later, we're the best of friends because that's what happens, right? He was amazing. So then the Army PT test stops. Well, these guys obviously don't give 2 craps about that, so they said, "Hey, get over here, everybody, pull up." And so there was 3 pull-up bars, and you do all the pull-ups, and of course somebody says, "What's the minimum?" There isn't any. Just do as many as you can. What's the maximum? Just do as many as you can. So 2 rules: don't touch the side, don't touch the ground. Once you touch the bar, start. Like, okay. So then I was pretty good. I kept backing up. So I was the last 3 to do the pull-ups, and so we get up there, and I'm just trying to stay quiet, right? So the guy next to me says, "What's been the max so far?" He says, "What the hell you're not going to do the max?" He's 15. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I somehow, some way, and they didn't say you couldn't change grips, right? I heard the rules. There was only 2. And so I'm changing grips. Man, I'm doing everything I can. I get to 16, but it was one of those chicken things, I barely get over, and the guy's counting them out. He said, 16. So I drop. I'm done. Absolutely wasted. Well, they open this big double doors and get in here. It's the pool. I'm kind of done. I'm wore out. So everybody, we pile in there, and I'm the last guy. Like the door shuts and hits me in the ass as they lock it. And the 2 SAR swimmers are in there, and they show you how to jump in. This is the only way you're going to enter, and this is the way you're going to swim, and you can't push off, and don't touch the sides, all that stuff. And 75 yards, let's go. Not hard to do 75 yards, except wait, I just wore myself out. And so, of course, these guys are smart, and they caught me. So from across the 75-yard or 25-yard pool, the guy says, "You in the back." And like the Red Sea, man, everybody parted, and he's looking at me. He says, "Come over here. I'm watching you. Get in here." And so he, the SAR swimmer gets out, and he's a big 6'4" guy, and he's got this vest on that comes down to my knees, and we're trying to zip this thing up, and he's a huge guy, so when his helmet comes down, it comes down past my nose. I can't see anything. and so they line up. I think there were 7 or 8 lanes. They line us up. The guy next to me, no exaggeration, is 6'4", 300 pounds, massive guy. Size 4. I looked down at his shoes, because we're going to swim in shoes, right? Size 14 freaking shoes. And we jump in, we can't kick off the side. Oh, and we can't also break the water. The only thing that can come over the water is your head. And don't ever say anything. If you get in trouble, you think you're in trouble, show the palm of your hand to the diver nearest you. When you make eye contact, he will come and rescue you. Word for word, that's what they said.
Lying.
Damn it. Yeah. Well, what happens is I'm on the very end, because I was the first one picked, and then they line up all these guys, and here's this giant next to me, and we jump in the water. Well, guess what? One of the strokes that you can do, of course, is the breaststroke, right? So this guy starts off with this big breaststroke, and guess what? This size, as I'm coming up out of the water, this big size 14 foot hits me and pins me against the back of the pool, and I think I've broken my neck. It hurt so bad, I couldn't see, couldn't do anything. Everybody's already down there, and I'm trying to get the stars out of my head. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I start swimming. I make it down the end. I'm coming back, and I can tell I can't do this. And the SAR swimmer's 20 feet away. He's got tanks. He's got flippers. He's got a wetsuit. He's got this big hard helmet on, and he's looking right at me. And I show my palm to him, and I roll over. That's all I remember. Next thing I know, I'm spitting out water out of every orifice, and I'm looking, and I see these jump boots that are just glossy as heck. Can't hear anything. I'm looking around. I look up, and this guy's screaming at me. I still can't hear him. Oh, shit. I'm supposed to be swimming. So I push off. I've just spit up gallons of water, and I've come to, and I realize where I am. I'm watching guys swim behind me. I push off, and I start swimming. And so I make it another 20 yards or so, get to the deep end, come back, and nope, shit. And I put my hand up. I'm looking at the diver. I roll over. So the second time, what they do, I found out later, is the SAR swimmers grab you by the vest, and they throw you up, and you know on the edge of the pool how the concrete is rounded off, and they hit you on your diaphragm just under your ribs against the side of the pool. It starts your heart, expels all the fluids out of your lungs, and you're coming awake or you're not. And so lately you've heard of a couple of SEALs that have passed away, you know, in training and in assessment for that reason. Anyway, I came to, second time, I come to, and I'm looking, and Oh, shit, I'm swimming. Oh, gosh. I push off. Well, the diver's hand's on my back. Chief, you're done. Get out of my pool. And I look up, and about this time, I can hear the guy in front of me, get out of my pool. What's your name? Because if you say your name or you say, okay, you're done. You're out. And so I kind of remember that, and I wait, and then I hear his flippers. Somebody else is in trouble. So I hear his flippers kick off, and I push off, and I go again. And the third time I go under, I have no faith this guy's going to get me. I don't know that I'm dying. All I know is I'm just really, really tired. I've done everything I can. I can't go any farther. I raise my hand and roll over. Third time, the guy's got his hand on me. Again, somebody else is in trouble, so he swims off. I finally finish. By the time I finish, everybody's done and already left. So I get to the end, and the black hat says, showers are that way. And he leaves. There's nobody left. It's just me in this big pool complex. And so I go in, take a shower, and I'm in the shower trying to figure out what the hell just happened. And the doc comes in, and he says, Chief, you okay? I said, what happened? He said, you died 3 times. I said, no, I didn't. He said, I'm the doctor here. So we watch. We see guys fake it all the time. Bubbles coming out of your mouth, nose, ears, everything, eyes. You were done. We waited to see if you were going to, fake it and say, oh, shit, nobody's coming. Oh, I don't know what you do. But he said, you died 3 times. Wow. So now I'm trying to rationalize that in my head, right? Oh, crap. What does that mean? And so...
Did they say how long you were out for?
Just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Well, about 20 seconds. So they wait to see if you're going to revive yourself, right? Miraculously, and you don't. And the diver's standing right there and waiting. And the diver looks over at the doc and says, nope, he's done. I said, did they restart my heart? Yeah. He said, that's why they're shark swimmers. And he said, they throw you up against the side of the pool, underneath your diaphragm, expels everything. Normally we can get everybody back up. I said, has this happened before? He said, nope, not here. But the SEALs, Delta, those guys do it all the time.
Wow.
Holy crap. So then I think I'm done, right? That's it. Obviously, this guy can't swim. We can't go on over water missions or whatever. I was an AAU swimmer. I was a 50-yard, 100-yard swimmer. But don't ask me to swim after I've just exerted myself on all the push-ups and sit-ups and 2-mile run and pull-ups that I've done,
Right.
So
they want to push you to your mental capacity to see what you got.
I'm past
right?
it.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting at the board
Or push you past
at the end of my check rides and, all the other tests. The doc puts you through a 1,500 question psych exam. And then you sit in front of the board, and there's 9 people on the board. The colonel's right in front of you. You can't move. You're in your dress screens. You got your hands on your lap, and your hat or beret on your lap. And you can't move. You can just answer. And so the colonel says, Doc, tell me about Mr. Chopra. I understand he likes our pool water. Yes, sir, he does. Probably drank 3 inches off the top.
Shit.
I said, holy crap. This is where the colonel's going to say, hey, pack your bags, you're gone, right? And then they keep going. I go, hey, what the? And then at the end, so that's how I died. Mm-hmm. And then they still accepted me at the end. I missed one question, though. Out of 55 freaking minutes, I missed one question. Hey, the colonel asked me the same question 13 times. So he asked me a question, and I gave him an answer. He said, I'm going to ask you again. Same question. I gave him an answer. No doubt in my mind I was right. Why is he fucking asking me again? 13 times he asked me. One more time, Chief. And he asked me, and I said it again. And then, so after 50 minutes to an hour, they kick you out. They decide amongst the 9 of them if they're going to accept you or not. And then you're asked to come back in. So 10 minutes later, I come back in, and they sit me down and, okay, so, and then they say some things, and they said, congratulations, we've accepted you.
That's awesome.
and I didn't move. Because in my mind, and my dad's mind, I missed one. Pissed me off.
Wow.
I didn't move. The colonel said, Chief, we accepted you. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Is that all you got to say? Normally, guys are up. I was an assessee as an instructor pilot later on, and man, people are just jumping up and down, screaming, grateful. And so they released me, and I go out, and immediately in the back room, they had a library. So I go, and I'm finding this book where the question came from, and I'm looking it up, and the doc comes in. He says, Chief, you okay? I said, Doc, I missed that question. I said, yeah. It's just one out of hundreds. I wasn't wrong. And so I looked it up. So in the regular Army, at the time, we were using Doppler to navigate with. We didn't have GPS yet. But in Special Ops, they had GPS. So when I'd done all their navigation, planning, training, flying, everything was in nautical miles. So the answer, the 5 to 8 was correct, but I said nautical miles. He was asking me an Army question, which is kilometers.
Wow.
So in Special Ops, I was right because I just learned it. But in the book, I was wrong. And so I went to the doc and I said, Doc, I was wrong. He says, no, you were right. We just wanted to see. So dying 3 times wasn't enough. Was I going to give the same answer every time? Or just because somebody asked me, was I going to change?
Dang, that's powerful.
That's what they want in Special Ops. And I had no idea. So I held that standard when I became the instructor pilot, because you are responsible to get less than 100 guys on an aircraft and go change the world.
Yeah. Paul, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
That was awesome.
We're gonna have to do it again.
And then he's hella jacked too.
I know. This is cool. Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
love
man.
that
Thank
story.
you for coming
No, that
on.
was a
This
great
is-
story,
This is a
man,
great
to be
story.
honest.
It's inspiring, and it's been awesome. So.
It's hard, don't you think it's hard, especially you two guys. We hear in real estate how you got to stay motivated, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I just told somebody in the office the other day, it's not motivation, because you can wake up one day and not be motivated to do what you're supposed to do. Right. It's discipline. And that's what we learn. There's no doubt in my mind when I get up, I got to go to the gym. Let's go. Yeah, my back aches, my knee hurts, or, whatever. I'm still going. Mm-hmm. The car doesn't start, I'll ride a bike. I'm going to the gym. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that's what I learned that my dad wanted me to learn when I went to the military. Until I started flying, I was a C- D student in high school. I swear to you, I barely made it out of high school. Mm-hmm. But then the very next day, I started working out because I saw a friend of mine work out, and he was in the best shape I'd ever seen in high school, young football player. And I said, dude, that's cool. He said, Paul, you should do this. I was 5'4", 95 pounds, 17 years old when I graduated high school.
Wow.
Do you know that God made you so that you could put your middle finger and your thumb around your wrist? I could do that around my bicep the day I graduated high school.
Not no more.
Wow. Yeah.
So the next day I started working out, and then I went 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. But the point is we learn that discipline, right? And it really has nothing to do with motivation. And now guys like Goggins and Sean Ryan, some of these guys or ex-special ops guys are talking about that. Mm-hmm. That motivation is going to let you down.
It's
100%.
temporary.
It really is.
Yeah, it's being consistent over a long period of time. And it's
Be
funny that you
disciplined.
say the gym thing,
Yeah.
because that's what helped me.
Right.
I was going through some troubled times in the gym, getting in there and just slowly developing discipline. It taught me to stick with something, whereas everything else besides water polo and other
Well,
sports,
you can tell
I
a
was
lot.
just doing
You
other
can
stuff.
tell a lot by someone that goes to the gym. I mean, just again, especially someone that can be consistent about it.
Right.
It's easy to go to the gym on January 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until February, and then you drop off.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? So I think we live that life where I hope people can look at us and say, yeah, he's doing it. Why can't I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do it. But, you know, if they don't want to, then they won't. I go to the range a lot. I take people I know to the range and we shoot. And it's okay. If you hit outside the 10 ring, it's okay. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I want to do. So same type of thing. Just be disciplined. Just do it.
Stay committed.
Yeah. And then the limits that your mind puts on you and your body and your thought process are the biggest hindrances to what you can do. Who would have ever thought I would look like this? I'm over 50 years old and I was 5'4", 95 pounds when I graduated high school. Who would have thought?
Not only that, I think, you know, the special operations side being.
Who would have thought I'd have made that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very few and far between.
Yeah.
You know,
so that never quit attitude, I think everybody has it. You just got to find it. But just like me, when I was a C- D student in high school, once I went to college and started learning about aviation and being a jet engine mechanic and flying, all of a sudden I got a B. How the hell did I get a B?
Yeah.
Right? Because I got A's for everything. My parents couldn't believe it. I wasn't the doctor or the lawyer or the engineer I was supposed to be, but, you know, I was the black sheep of the family. So it was, you know, it was really cool to finally get to that point where I could bring them a shirt. Like I brought them a polo shirt. I brought my parents a polo shirt. The 2 weeks I got off, like after 5 years, and I gave it to him, and he wore it to the golf course the next day, and he came back and he told us. He said all my friends were pointing at the shirt, saying, "Tell us about that. What the heck?" And they were all vets. He had no idea. These are all rich guys that live in San Diego that play golf, and they hardly ever talk to him. But now they had so much respect because he wore that shirt. And he said, "Well, yeah,
cool.
my son, he does this." Holy crap! So that's what it took for him to finally be proud of me.
Wow.
That's something.
That's powerful.
It's awesome.
That's powerful.
Sorry.
No,
I
it's
talk
good.
too
man.
much.
No, you don't, man. I appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been good.
Bo, do you want to end it with anything?
Just that, you know, I'm thankful for the opportunity. Well, for one, to hear Paul's story. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always nice to hear a fellow, veteran and someone that served in the military, as well as to you, Corbin, and Jake the Tribe over there. He's doing some good productions out there. So just grateful to be a part of this. Yeah.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
for serving.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it,
My pleasure, my honor.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Let's wrap it up.